But when you're writing sci-fi, even if it's soft sci-fi, you have to think, okay, what don't we have and what would we want in a world like that? One of the concepts I used was it's a item called a restore screen, which is basically just something you put on a wound to keep it from, keep from bleeding out and to just kind of heal it. And I was like, this is awesome. And I was talking to my dermatologist, and she's like, yeah, that already exists. I'm like, okay. Okay. All right. Well, that is a good thought. So there's that kind of thing where I have to think, what do we need? What don't we have? You can't just magic something up. It's got to be something that actually would make sense in the world. What how would it work, and does it work? That was hard for me to actually kind of come up with things that don't exist, and what we would need. I mean, like the flying cars. Everybody wants that. Ever since Back to the Future, we've been waiting on them. So that wasn't hard, but other things were difficult to try to make it unique, different, something we haven't seen before. And that's a constant struggle for this whole series, to just kind of make things that are unique and different.
What I found lately with that you do some, and I've seen it happen more in some Star Wars things as well, is it used to be a thing where your science fiction writers were very much futurists. And they were just trying to always think 10 steps ahead in the future, which is why, when Star Trek came out, especially the Next Generation, they had pads. I don't think they realized that in 15 years we would have iPads.
Right.
Everyone
Right.
would have like tablets that they're like, oh, look, it's a tablet computer. And now we all have them. So I think people are now kind of giving up, and they're sort of, instead of going retro future, they're going retro sideways. And they're saying,
Okay.
okay, we're not going to think about ahead of the game, because that just goes to holographs, and there's only so much you can do with holographs. But we have so much with tactile computers these days that the next stage is just holographs. But I've seen people more of saying, okay, how do we just secondary world this and go sideways? How do we do this differently? Not trying to look better, not trying to always improve, because then the culture catches up and then we look dated. We're just going to go off in this end. What would it look done differently instead of done like super advanced? Because it can be a little exhausting sometimes
Right.
to try to keep ahead of that.
Right. That's exactly that's exactly what I was facing. I'm like, I can't make this any better. Like you said, you go to holographs, and there is that in the book, but you can't just keep saying, well, it's holographs. There's got to be other things that are occurring that are different or unique that we haven't seen before.